Story 1. It was a moonless night, as old Mr. Jennings set out from his secluded village home, the only sounds accompanying him the distant echoes of nocturnal creatures. The city's distant glow beckoned him like a siren's call. The road stretched out before him, winding through the dense woods that whispered secrets to those who dared to listen. The engine of Mr. Jennings' vintage car hummed a comforting melody until, suddenly, a plume of smoke rose from beneath the hood, and the car shuddered to a reluctant halt. A mechanical wail echoed through the quiet night, and the old man sighed, realizing he was stranded in the embrace of the silent woods. Determined to reach the city before dawn, Mr. Jennings popped the hood, his gnarled hands fumbling with the engine. Minutes passed like hours, but his attempts proved futile. With a resigned sigh, he reached for his mobile phone and called roadside assistance, only to be met with an apologetic voice claiming that help wouldn't arrive until morning. Feeling the chill of the night creeping in, Mr. Jennings locked his immobile car and began to tread the lonely road on foot. The shadows cast by the skeletal trees seemed to dance in the dim moonlight, and an eerie stillness enveloped the woods as he trudged onward. After what felt like an eternity, Mr. Jennings extended his aged thumb, seeking a savior on this desolate road. A few cars sped past, indifferent to the lone hitchhiker. Weariness settled into his bones, and the weight of the night pressed upon him. Just when hope began to wane, a pair of headlights pierced the darkness, and a sleek car coasted to a stop. The driver's window rolled down, revealing a mysterious figure in the driver's seat. The stranger's eyes glinted in the pale light, and a soft, melodic voice invited Mr. Jennings to step inside, grateful for the assistance. Mr. Jennings settled into the passenger's seat, the car pulling back onto the desolate road. The stranger remained silent, his eyes fixed on the winding path ahead, unnerved by the silence. Mr. Jennings attempted small talk, but his words hung in the air, swallowed by the eerie quiet of the car. As they drove deeper into the night, the woods surrounding them seemed to come alive with an ethereal energy. Strange shapes flitted in and out of view, and distant whispers echoed through the air. Mr. Jennings, growing uneasy, questioned the driver about the peculiar occurrences, but his queries were met with stoic silence. Abruptly, the car came to a halt in front of an ancient cemetery, its wrought iron gates creaking open of their own accord. The stranger turned to Mr. Jennings, revealing eyes that now glowed in unearthly shade. The atmosphere thickened with an otherworldly presence, and the air buzzed with spectral energy. In a voice that resonated with a haunting melody, the stranger spoke of a pact that bound the living and the dead. The car became a vessel bridging realms, and Mr. Jennings found himself entwined in a spectral journey. Shadows danced around the cemetery, and ethereal figures moved in a silent waltz. As the night unfolded, the stranger drove Mr. Jennings through the veil between the living and the supernatural. The old man glimpsed memories of long-forgotten souls, and witnessed a spectral communion that transcended the boundaries of mortality. The car, now a conduit between worlds, carried them through a surreal landscape where the living and the dead coexisted in a delicate dance. With the first light of dawn, the stranger pulled to a stop at the edge of the woods, the cemetery fading into the background. The spectral energy dissipated, and the stranger's eyes returned to their human guise. Mr. Jennings, still in a state of bewilderment, stepped out of the car, the night's events shrouded in a surreal haze. As the mysterious car disappeared into the early morning mist, Mr. Jennings found himself at the outskirts of the city. The glow of dawn illuminated the familiar skyline, and the old man stood alone, contemplating the enigmatic journey that had unfolded in the span of a single night, haunted by the echoes of spectral whispers and the mystifying encounter with the midnight hitchhiker. Mr. Jennings carried the weight of the paranormal journey with him, forever bound to the ethereal secrets that lingered at the crossroads between the living and the supernatural. Story 2. On a desolate stretch of highway that cut through the heart of the forgotten town of Ravenscroft, a weary traveler named Emily found herself stranded in the dead of night. Her car, a reliable companion on countless journeys, betrayed her with a mechanical groan before succumbing to silence. The air hung heavy with an unsettling stillness as Emily attempted to diagnose the issue. Frustrated and alone, Emily reached for her phone, only to find a dead battery. The town's eerie silence pressed upon her, and the flickering street lights cast long, ominous shadows on the road. A shiver ran down her spine as distant howls of unseen creatures echoed through the night with no alternative. Emily locked her car and decided to walk, hoping to find help in the eerie town. As she trudged along the desolate road, the abandoned houses seemed to watch her with vacant windows, their secrets hidden behind cracked paint and weathered wood after what felt like an eternity. The distant sound of an approaching engine provided a glimmer of hope. A vintage pickup truck pulled over, its rusty exterior and flickering headlights betraying it aged the driver. An elderly man with hollow eyes offered Emily a sympathetic smile and invited her to hop in. Grateful for the assistance, Emily climbed into the passenger seat. The truck rumbled back to life, and the old man, introducing himself as Mr. Blackwell, navigated the winding roads of Ravenscroft with an uncanny familiarity. The town's history, he explained, was fraught with tales of the supernatural, but Emily dismissed it as the ramblings of an old man. As the truck rolled through the silent streets, Mr. Blackwell shared stories of Ravenscroft's haunted past, the restless spirits, and the lingering curses that bound the town in perpetual gloom. Emily, growing increasingly uneasy, tried to steer the conversation away from the supernatural. The truck came to a stop at an old cemetery on the outskirts of town. Mr. Blackwell, his eyes now glinting with an otherworldly light, spoke of a ritual that could lift the curse plaguing Ravenscroft. He implored Emily to assist him, claiming her arrival was no mere coincidence. Reluctant but intrigued, Emily followed Mr. Blackwell into the cemetery. The moon cast an ethereal glow on the weathered tombstones as they reached a forgotten mausoleum. Symbols etched in the stones seemed to pulse with an unnatural energy. As Mr. Blackwell began an incantation, shadows twisted and danced around the mausoleum. The air thickened with an otherworldly presence, and Emily felt an unseen force guiding her actions. In a trance-like state, she unwittingly became part of the ritual, her surroundings warping as the boundaries between the living and the supernatural blurred. As the incantation reached its climax, The mausoleum's doors creaked open, revealing a hidden chamber. Emily, now fully entranced, stepped inside with Mr. Blackwell. The chamber, adorned with ancient symbols, housed an otherworldly artifact and object set to hold the key to Ravenscroft's salvation. And beknownst to Emily, the artifact's power extended beyond mere liberation. As Mr. Blackwell approached, the shadows within the chamber coalesced into spectral figures. Whispers echoed through the air, revealing the restless spirits bound to Ravenscroft. Suddenly, Emily snapped out of the trance, her senses returning. The mausoleum trembled with an unnatural force, and the apparitions within the chamber turned their gaze towards her, panicking. Emily stumbled backward, realizing the true nature of the ritual. In the midst of the spectral chaos, Emily managed to escape the mausoleum. The night air felt colder, and the once silent town now echoed with mournful wails. The pickup truck, now cloaked in shadows, waited at the cemetery's entrance. Mr. Blackwell, his form shifting between human and specter, urged Emily to complete the ritual, terrified and determined. Emily sprinted away from the haunted cemetery, leaving Ravenscroft behind. As she reached the town's limits, the spectral cries faded, and the once ominous streetlights flickered into normalcy. Emily, haunted by the night's events, never looked back at Ravenscroft. The supernatural town remained hidden in the rearview mirror as she continued her journey, forever marked by the haunting hitchhike that entwined her fate with the curses of a forgotten town. Story 3. Stranded in the Arizona desert, Mark's car succumbed to the relentless heat. Alone and phoneless, he walked the lonely highway until James, a mysterious driver, offered him a ride in a vintage convertible. James spoke of the desert's haunted history, weaving tales of ancient curses and lost souls. As they drove deeper into the desert, James led Mark to a hidden oasis, claiming it held the key to the mysteries of the land. The oasis, bathed in an otherworldly glow, became a stage for a supernatural ritual. Mirages transformed into spectral apparitions, blurring the lines between reality and the supernatural. However, Mark's hesitation during the ritual triggered unforeseen consequences. The desert spirits turned their attention to him, beckoning him to join their spectral dance. Panicking, Mark broke free, fleeing the oasis as haunting visions distorted his reality. Back on the highway, the vintage convertible carried him away from the surreal encounter. The mirages of the desert faded into the horizon, leaving Mark forever changed by the haunting hitchhike through the Arizona desert, a journey that blurred the boundaries between the living and the supernatural.